All right, hello traders. Little afternoon session for you today. I'm going to share two trades that I did earlier today with you. I covered these with our members. We put them on live already. Did a trading session on it, but I want to share some trade ideas with you and give you some things to think about. If you want to try doing something similar, you can. If not, these two have some trade ideas. So two different stocks or indexes that we were going to trade today is I'm going to take a look at MicroStrategy, which I've been trading for many years, but really recently it has just been an unbelievably great trade opportunity, not an investing opportunity, but a great trading opportunity. Number one. So I'm going to show you a jade lizard, so a long jade lizard that I did on MicroStrategy today. I'm also going to show you a QQQ 112 that I got working. Hasn't been filled yet, but we got to work on it. I'll share two of these trades with you. Hope you'll get some trade ideas and something that you can take a look at. So first thing I want to share is let's take a look at MicroStrategy. So we know that this thing, when you're looking at this weekly chart, has just been parabolic and ridiculous. Soaring higher, pretty strong chart on the weekly. And then here on the daily, you've got stochastic momentum cranking up. You got RSI rising. You've got the MACD reversing after a couple weeks of selling, okay, and now starting to really get cooking as well today as Bitcoin continues to just plow its way higher. It was at 106,000 a little bit ago. Earlier today, we've got a couple trades on IBIT as well as uh, MicroStrategy. In fact, I'll share an IBIT trade with you today as well, which we have not gotten filled on, and I might fix that trade. So let's take a look at three trades for you. So I'll give you all three. So MicroStrategy, you're looking at this symmetrical triangle. It's breaking out, again to the upside here. So I think this thing's still bullish. Can it remain bullish? I don't know, but we've got an IV R in this thing of 48, which has been pretty consistent for a while now. Uh, it did spike at one point up to 539. Doesn't mean it can't go there, but we've got Bollinger Bands around 450. We've got the 3 ATR here um, as well around 492. So I think the upside still exists and is capped. And then I think downside, we've got a lot of decent support levels here. Again, this is a multi X leveraged way to play Bitcoin. And I'll preface all of this by saying it's a riskier trade. You certainly have to manage it. It's not just some golden goose that keeps laying eggs, but for us it has been for a while. But you got to understand the risks involved when trading MicroStrategy. So hopefully this will make sense that we're going to put on a bullish trade today in MicroStrategy. Let's look at two other things with you today. Let's look at the Qs, and then we'll go to the trades. Let's look at the trades on the Q. I mean, QQQ. Again, this thing is just super strong today, having a great up move overall, getting extended. I mean, you can see that we are definitely into overbought territory on not only the RSI, but the stochastic momentum. MACD is long, the squeeze is long. You're up here topping the Bollinger Band and the 3 ATR here on the daily, the weekly. We're at the top of the Bollinger Band. It's due to pull back, but where are we going to pull back to? What's an acceptable level? Could you be looking at maybe filling a gap on this thing in this range? Is this where maybe there'll be some support or something to take a look at? Maybe it's a previous pivot point that we pull back to on here. We can draw this out sideways. We've got a couple other pivot points and things on this thing. It's just going bananas in here. But you might as well, again, take advantage of these while you have the opportunity. And one of the trades that I love is the 112 trade, where you don't have any risk to the upside. But if you do pull back a bit, then maybe this thing pays off. And I want you to pay attention to a couple levels here, but especially I want you to look at this gap in here that's around maybe 517. You've got this support at 515 down in here. And then you have other support levels along the way, I think we can probably put a pivot support level um, here. We'll draw this thing out as well around 500. Then after that, who knows? Maybe you've got some more supports in here. There's a lot of different levels that I think we can hold above, but I want you to remember these numbers that we looked at 500, maybe 490s on the 3 ATR and the Bollinger Bands on the weekly chart. Maybe, we've got these 480-ish range, 485-ish range. We're going to go a little outside of that for our trade. And then the last one is on IBIT. Okay. Obviously, Bitcoin, like the MicroStrategy trade, this thing is off and running. It's bananas. We'll see at some point that this thing calms down, but we've got several levels to get through until then. But I want to draw your attention to this 53-ish support level in here, and then really the bottom of the Bollinger Band right around 51. So if you remember those, and you may not, you can go back and rewatch this thing. Let's take a look at some trades, and let's jump into our investing account that we have, the lazy trader account that I trade here with the Income Navigator service. Let's get into this trade. And here you can see a lot of the trades that we have on. We've actually got the QQQ, the IBIT trades working. They haven't been filled, but MicroStrategy, we did get filled on this Jade Lizard trade. So I want to take a look at this MicroStrategy trade here with you and just show you how I'm laying this out. Now, there's a couple different time frames that you can do, but what we did with this Jade Lizard was we went down to the 250 level, and I sold the 250. I also bought the 200 to define my risk to the downside. Now, if you remember when we were talking about these trades on MicroStrategy, again, I told you to write some things down. But if you remember, there was some support levels down right around 266 at the 3 ATR, 300 is a decent support level area in this stock. I mean, there's several above that, but I'm talking down below. So I feel 250 is an area that we probably won't get to at least in the next 11 days. And we're going to do an 11-day trade here. I'm also going to go way up, way, way, way up to the 700 level. Okay, we're going to go to the 700 level, which is well beyond that 550 high that it hit before. I don't know if you need to go this far, but you certainly can. And let me show you the goal of this trade. Okay. And the way I'm putting this on, and here this is what it looks like. So it looks a lot like a strangle in many cases, but you've got a gigantic area here on this long Jade Lizard. Now, the way I set it up here was more like a strangle, but it's a defined risk on the downside. Okay, so the downside here is a defined risk trade. Okay, and the upside, we capped it with a naked call. Now we're generating credit from both sides, so we're taking in $240 credit. Now you can get probably $250 for this potentially now, as we're putting this on, but you're taking in, at least on my trade, let's just do it at $250 because who knows what. You can take in $500 using about $5,800 in margin for this trade, $5,900. Okay. This is an 8% trade in 11 days. Okay. If we drop below 250, I mean, we could take a loss of, if we don't do any adjusting, you've got a defined risk loss. Right now, for me, it's $10,000, which is about 2% of net lick. I would probably not let it get there anyway. And then if you rocket it up here, we all have all the way to 700 before we have to worry about, rolling out potentially and rolling up. And MicroStrategy has been something that's been pretty easy to roll and maneuver through for the most. Doesn't mean it'll stay that way. Higher risk trade, but this is the trade. So this is a long Jade Lizard. Okay, but I've set it up so there is still risk on both sides, and it's really working like a strangle, but you're talking an 8% return in 11 days. Now, you could also consider going out, which I did, and looking at something like inauguration week, and if we actually wanted to even take off, add more safety to the top, we could go to the 800 call. Look at this trade. So this is taking in $2,466, so basically $2,500, okay, using 37.19 in buying power. This is a 66% trade in 32 days. So you can make 36% as long as we stay in here. If you wanted to get more conservative, on the downside too, maybe you're a little bit more nervous about the downside, we could certainly stretch this thing out a bit more and do the 200, 150 with the 800 up top. And the reason I'm doing the credit spread on the bottom is just to simply keep buying power in check. This takes in 290 or 2,292 bucks using 36.34 in margin and a portfolio margin account. This is a 63% trade, 63% trade in 32 days. I love this trade as well. I might actually consider putting this on top of it here. In fact, it's a little wider, a little safer. Okay, so this is and you could even get even more safety if you wanted, taking this down to like the 150 level and maybe the 100 puts. See if we can do that. I'm having trouble getting it. Let's just go here. Tasty trades, sometimes a pain in the neck to deal with. Okay, so this is even wider. Okay, 2,214 bucks on 36.73 in margin, 60% winner, 60% trade. Okay, in the next 32 days. Will I take this off early? Potentially. I'd probably manage it just like a strangle. In fact, I'm going to send this thing right now, and let's jump into this trade too. All right, so we'll get another trade working on that. Sorry, there's our MicroStrategy trades for you. All right, let's take a look at the Qs. Now, this QQQ trade is a 112 trade. Okay, pretty standard setup, like my normal 112 style trades that I have. Let's see if we can make this. There we go, to look a little bit better. All right, on the Qs here, we're going to go down to that 450 level on the Qs. Now, remember, we talked about where did we see some support. I felt there was support at the 500 level, the 480 level. You have to go to get to 450. You're going to have to break the 200-day moving average from here. Okay, so you've got a downside right now of 538 minus the 450 put, 88 points to the downside from where we are now. That is a 16% drop in 67 days. It doesn't mean it can't happen. Certainly could happen to the downside, but you have a couple of things here. Number one, I could roll out the naked put. Number two, I could just take assignment at 450, okay, which I think is not a bad opportunity here either. And then I'm doing a narrow 5 wide up here. Now, you could go more of a width if you want a bigger trap. And I think as being overbought, but still bullish. If we keep moving up in the trap up here, we're going to pull in on this trade. And we may have to adjust this trade a bit. Okay, we're going to pull in roughly $490 using 59.76. Again, in a portfolio margin account. This is an 8% trade in 67 days. If we stay above 500, okay, we're going to make 8%. If we drop into here, anywhere above this 450, anywhere above 450 now, we make almost $1,490 on that same 5,900. So this is about a 25% trade if the market pulls back anything less than 16%. So you have options, understand how to manage it. There's risk involved, of course, but I certainly think that this is something to take a look at for this trade. Now, we do have one working here, 246, so maybe we'll bring this down to 245 and see if we can get maybe a fill today on this one. So we'll keep trying. Last trade is on IBIT, and I love these bull trap trades. So you hear me talk about the bear trap trades that we do all of the time, but this is a bull trap trade, okay, which is essentially a bull combo spread. How do we work this particular trade? Well, IBIT is bullish. Okay. We want to take some advantage here of the fact that it could potentially keep moving higher. I'm going to sell. So I'm going to buy a call spread. I'm going to do the 64-69 call spread. So it's a 5 wide. Okay. So 5 wide call spread. And I'm going to sell naked puts at the 51 strike, 2 of those to pay for it. So essentially, this is also a 1-1-2 just in reverse a bit, but I'm using calls and puts. So I have a call debit spread, okay, call debit spread, and a naked put financing that. So again, to me, this is a bull trap trade to the upside. Would you be willing to take assignment on IBIT down at 51? And again, we talked about this just a minute ago, that 51 is really the 50-day moving average on the daily chart. It breaks multiple support levels to get there. The bottom of the Bollinger Band as well is 51. So I believe there's some support levels and such to get through. Doesn't mean we can't get there, okay? But I might be willing to take assignment on this ETF, the iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF. I'd be willing to take assignment around 50, 51. Okay, or I could roll out, give myself a little bit more time to be right. Okay, and I'm okay rolling naked puts on Bitcoin ETFs and things like that right now. All right, so do we continue to see more upside in this thing? If we stay in this tail, which is a short tail, but if we stay in this tail, we're going to pull in $242. Okay, and we're only using 59.60 in margin, which is a 4% trade in just over a month. So 4% in a month, not bad. If we move above 64 at all, we could then potentially be looking at $1,240 on that same 59.60, which is more like a 21% return on our capital. So either way, this is a great trade, good opportunity in here. You can make 4% in a month, you can make 20% in a month, as long as we stay above 51 on the bull trap trade here. So I think it's a decent looking opportunity. We're not getting exactly those strikes. Let's actually rework this thing a tad. So it's moved up quite a bit since we originally structured the trade. So let's take a look at this thing. Right now, if we were to do it and it's only giving us $1, we would make $200 on this using 59.85, which is a little over 3% in 39 days, which still meets my criteria. So it's still not bad. How do we make a little bit more money? Well, we do a couple things. Number one, we can move the call credit spread higher. So we can move this piece up to maybe 65.70, generate a little bit more cash, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to get there. But if we still get there in the next month, okay, this thing will pay off pretty nice. And now we're taking in 230 on that 59.50 level. So almost 4%. So this is probably pretty good. Or we could shrink the trap here a bit, keep it at that 64 and go 64.68 instead of 64.69, which is only 4 wide. We still take in $250 on this trade. I'm doing 2 contracts on 59.22, which is a little over 4%. I think this looks pretty attractive. I'm going to book this trade, and let's see if we get filled on this one. The other one that we had working just didn't get filled. So we'll see if we get filled on these trades. So there you go. 3 trades, giving you some idea. MicroStrategy, IBIT, so 2 Bitcoin related trades, and the Qs, a trade on all of these that works. If we drop a bit, we're still in great shape. If we run a bit, we're in really great shape. Okay. So either way, we should win pretty nicely on these trades. Stay tuned. We'll manage these. I hope this was helpful. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.